Barroom Network presents two fired up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and the man with the plan, Adam Schaum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flushed out again all the way back. Turning the corner. Fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, stayed in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. And this is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this, better than those things.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Goon. I'm Joe Mandel, the Goon. This guy over here, that's Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. And we are here to bring you the fantasy news and updates and help that you need to win your matchups. So first off, happy Halloween. And secondly, Adam, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing good, Joe. I'm excited that we're past all the bye weeks last week and ready to get the second half of the fantasy season kicked off today.
That's right. We're going into the second half of the fantasy season. And while bye week hell technically is behind us, technically we do have a couple buys this week. And, you know, there's no Raiders and no Ravens this week for fantasy owners. So I think the number one question is, I know Darren Waller's banged up and Mark Andrews has been pretty good as of late. Adam, what do fantasy owners do to replace those two guys in their lineup today?
Well, hopefully you've kind of looked ahead to this. Like you said, with Waller was banged up last week, so hopefully you kind of had a replacement last week for him, and we're more prepared for this week. As far as with Andrews goes, hopefully you've looked at the waiver wire in the last couple of weeks and picked up a guy we've talked about numerous times, like Ricky Seals-Jones or somebody like that, who's been a fantastic fill-in for bye weeks the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, you just got to look ahead to some of this stuff. But luckily, we're down to just the 2 teams this week rather than 6 like we had last week.
Yeah. Thankfully, we're happy to have that behind us. Another name I'll tell people to look at for a tight end is Pat Freiermuth. He's the tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 7 targets last week with that banged up receiving core. So for me, that's kind of a big telltale sign that he's going to be involved. He's available almost in all leagues. So great bye week plug-in. I love him today. Spoiler alert, you'll hear about him again from me later in the show. But also, Adam, I want to talk a little bit about some of the crazy injuries and what's going on. Dak Prescott, they've been playing it coy with him. Had the bye week, and he's still going to be a quote-unquote game-time decision. And Austin Eckler popped up with this mystery hip injury yesterday, but he says he's going to play. What are you thinking about these 2 guys?
Well, I'm not thinking too positively about the Dak situation as far as this week goes. I'll say that. I would say it's highly unlikely he plays tonight. I don't think the Cowboys are going to take any chances at all with him after what he's already come back from. And based upon, there's still 10 weeks left or 10 games left in the season, basically, for the Cowboys. They've already had their bye week, so they still have the bulk of the season left. They need to look long-term and keep him healthy. So I don't expect Dak to play. The Eckler thing, hopefully that's just kind of a little nagging type of thing that's popped up, and they've just reported it. But, he's made it clear he intends to be playing today. And I look for Eckler to be Austin Eckler today and carry on the usual duties.
I agree. Austin Eckler said he's starting himself in fantasy today. So
right.
If that's the case, then you imagine he's probably going to be a full go.
Yeah, he's a pretty big fantasy football player himself. So absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot to look forward to there. Hopefully he's healthy. I'm working on a deal, Adam, in our ballroom league with Steven Zimmerman. I'm trying to peel Derrick Henry from his hands for Eckler and Terry McLaurin. Am I crazy for that?
That's a huge deal to go down in any league. You're talking about the number 1 player in fantasy right now in Derrick Henry, but then you're also talking about Austin Eckler is one of the top 5, I would say, right now, and scary Terry McLaurin is a top 10 to 15 wide receiver. So I don't think it's crazy at all. It kind of just depends on your roster needs. If you can be willing to, obviously you're upgrading at running back. If you can afford the loss at wide receiver, then I think it's a fair deal for both teams.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I just think I want that consistency at running back because, I have Eckler. I don't really have anybody else at running back. That's, I got to maybe, we'll talk more about it a little bit later. All of our listeners don't need to hear about my specific fantasy team, but we do have a bunch of our listeners that have questions already here for us. So let's field a couple of those. Our buddy Connor, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Devontae Booker, Williams, Chase Claypool, pick 2. Also, good morning. Wow, that is quite the gamut of players to choose from. Adam, who are you taking out of these? That's a big wow. It's 2 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a lot going on there. All pretty decent options, though, I would say. At first glance, I think me and you spoke a little bit earlier. I kind of like Javonte Williams today. I think he looked really, really good in last week's game. And I think he's just going to slowly from here on out start eating away at Melvin Gordon's touches. So I think Javonte Williams would be one for me. And I think I might go Devontae Booker in that game versus the Chiefs because even if they get behind, he's pretty good in the passing game and might be able to get a lot of short targets. I love Jalen Waddle this season, but they're going against Buffalo, and that could be a tough matchup. And Devontae Parker's coming back. So I'd go Booker and Williams, I think.
Yeah, I think I would go Booker and Williams as well. For me, it's between definitely Williams, and then it's between Booker and Devontae Smith. But I just think I agree with you. I think Devontae Booker is gonna, have the more consistent touches, and I think Devontae Booker personally, I think he's more likely to score than Devontae Smith today.
Me too.
But again, great options to have. Connor, you must have been a wizard in that draft room. So congrats on having all those players. That's great. And then our other buddy, Travis, says pick 2 running backs, Chubb, Patterson, Hubbard. I mean, Chubb is still pretty banged up. They're going against that tough Pittsburgh run defense. I mean, I have a hard time not taking Patterson and Hubbard here. I know Chubb is a beast, but he's not 100%. And is he officially active in this game? I got to pull up the inactive report.
Yeah, he's playing.
I know.
He came off the injury report on Friday.
I know he's not going to be I doubt he would be 100% like go today. There's no way they throw him right back into everything.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if he had a full workload. So, I caution away from Chubb just because I just don't know what you're going to get today. I know maybe he could technically go off. I don't know, Adam. How do you feel?
I'm playing Nick Chubb no matter what. If he's playing, he's on my lineup. At the price I paid to have him on my team, or anybody who's drafted him, if he's on the field, you got to play him, because I do agree he could not see 100% of his normal workload, but I think he'll at least get some goal line touches, or a good chance of it. And we saw James Conner the other night score 2 touchdowns and barely get, like 20-something yards, I think, but he still managed 2 touchdowns. And I think Nick Chubb could easily do something similar to that. So if he's playing, he's going to be in my lineup. And then I think I would probably play Chuba Hubbard as the other one.
Yeah, I mean,
I know Patterson's been fantastic, but you got to feel like the wheels fall off of that at some point, or at least for a game or two.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I just have a hard time trusting Chubb. I could totally see why you would want to play him today. I have Dearness Johnson as my sit of the week later. I know you have him as a sleeper today, but I don't know. I'm just not. Pittsburgh's one of the better teams against the run. I think they're going to throw it a lot today, even with a banged up Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. By the way, Odell showed up to the game dressed up as Michael Jackson from Thriller. I don't know if you saw that this morning, but well done, OBJ. But great question, Travis. I know Adam and I are split on this one, but you're definitely playing Chuba. I know you put a lot of real estate in Chubb, so you'll probably end up rolling with Chubb. But I don't know, Patterson, every time I doubt him this year, he seems to go off. So I guess we'll wait and see there. But now that we got through some of our questions, whatever chat room, if you have more questions, get them in. We'll answer them later in the show. We're going to get to Adam's and mine starts and sits of the week. Let's go ahead and start with my quarterback starts. I know Adam and I both love Kirk Cousins this week. That Dallas secondary, horrible. Kirk Cousins looks like his old self. I mean, he's been playing the lights out lately in Minnesota. I love what he's going to get with, that protection and with those deep balls. Look for a guy like KJ Osborne to have a sneaky good day today as well. Joe Burrow.
We got some breaking news.
What's
Calvin
the breaking
Ridley.
news?
Calvin Ridley has just been ruled out again due to a personal matter once again.
Whoa.
That's the second time now in 3 games.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either. That was what they said 2 or 3 weeks ago before the bye. They said personal matter, and now it just said he's ruled out again to a personal matter. That's
I just popped up the breaking news thing at the bottom. Calvin Ridley, folks, this is breaking. Adam just broke it to me right now on the air. Is inactive again for a personal matter today. Gotta hope that everything's okay with Calvin for this happening 2 times within the last month. And then also, we also got some more breaking news that just came in. Jamal Williams is also an unexpected inactive today for the Detroit Lions. So if you had him in your lineup, make sure you get him out as well. But 2 breaking news stories really quick. Calvin Ridley and Jamal Williams both out of their games. Obviously, Ridley the bigger fantasy star, but I know a lot of people had Williams as a sleeper pick this week, so get those guys out of your lineup. That's crazy, Adam. I don't know what's going on with Calvin Ridley, man.
I don't either. That's very disappointing.
That's scary stuff. Hopefully everything's okay with him, but yeah, wow. That's brutal. And yeah, I'm seeing all the tweets starting to pour in now about Calvin Ridley with what the heck is going on. That's interesting. So we'll keep you guys in the loop on that. But getting back to the quarterback starts of the week. Sorry, I lost mine for a second. I was just saying about Kirk Cousins. We both love him this week. And, Joe Burrow, a guy that I really thought was going to fumble the ball last weekend. He just continues to prove everyone wrong and is ridiculously good. Has a great matchup against the New York Jets today. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals torch the Jets today. So look for Joe Burrow to be in starting lineups. And then I like Danny Dimes today against the Kansas City Chiefs. As Adam and I continue to tell you every single week, the Kansas City defense is all-world bad. Besides Tyrann Mathieu, there's not really much going on there. Eventually they'll get it together, but right now they just don't have it. Look for Danny Dimes to go hog wild today against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if Sterling Shepard is active, I know he's been questionable. I'd like Sterling Shepard to have a big game too. But Adam, let's get to your quarterback starts of the week.
Well, as you said, we got some pretty similar ones today. I love Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow, as you mentioned. Cousins has just been extremely consistent this season. I believe he has 13 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions to this point, which is just fantastic. He's one of those guys that can gather up a whole lot of points late in the game, even when they struggle, but it stays close. In the fourth quarter, Kirk Cousins can put up 2 touchdowns and 150 yards and catch the Vikings up, and all of a sudden your fantasy day looks great as well. So I love what he's done all year. Joe Burrow the same way. Again, we've talked about multiple touchdowns every game this year. He just does it every week. He's got so many weapons around him. You gotta keep Burrow in your lineups. And I like Carson Wentz this week. A guy that didn't think I'd say that very often, but man, Carson Wentz has really looked good the last few weeks. The Colts seem to really be getting the game plan together, using Jonathan Taylor more. He's making big plays in the passing game. Michael Pittman's looking like a stud. So I really like what Wentz has done the last couple of weeks. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts went in and upset Tennessee Titans today. I think that's going to be a really good game. The Titans have been on fire, beating the Bills and the Chiefs the last couple of weeks, but I kind of think the Colts are going to have something for them today. So I look for that to be a good game and Carson Wentz to perform with Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I like Michael Pittman too. I mean, Wentz has been surprisingly good. I hope he can keep it up because that Colts team is exciting to watch.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to be a good game today regardless. Both teams looking good right now. But Adam, let's get to your running back starts of the week. Why don't you throw those at us?
All right, Joe. In that Cincinnati game again versus the Jets, I like both of the Bengals running backs, Mixon and Samaje Perine today. I expect the Bengals to score a lot of points. Mixon to be a part of that early, as well as Burrow. And then second half, I think Perine's probably going to get involved a lot, not just in the running game, but also maybe a little bit of passing game work. He's looked really good, filling in for Joe Mixon, giving him a little bit of a break the last couple of weeks. So I like both of the Cincinnati Bengals running backs today. I also like the rookie stepping in for Miles Sanders for Philadelphia this week, Kenneth Gainwell, in the game versus Detroit. We know we like to pick on the Detroit defense as well, just like the Chiefs. So Kenneth Gainwell has been a fairly productive player with Miles Sanders playing, and I think now he's going to have the job he had plus a little bit of Miles Sanders work, and I think he's really good in the passing game. I like what you see out of him there. Hurts seems to look for him quite a bit as well. So Kenneth Gainwell, I think, has a big game versus Detroit today. And another one is Zach Moss. I've mentioned him a couple times the last month or so. Buffalo's going against Miami. I expect Buffalo to get quite a bit ahead in that game. And again, the second half of Zach Moss where he could get a touchdown or maybe even 2 at the goal line, like we've seen him do earlier in the season already. The game just sets up really good for the Buffalo offense, I think.
I agree, man. Zach Moss, I know we've been talking about him, continues to look better and better every single week.
Yeah, he seems
like
so
all
much
those
better
picks.
than Singletary.
I agree. As much as I hate it as a Singletary owner, I totally agree with you. He looks like a night and day player. It's hard to believe he was a healthy scratch to start the year. So he's finally getting things going, which is great. I know we have a couple of the we both share the love for Kenneth Gainwell this week. I look for him to erupt today against Detroit. I mean, in PPR leagues, he might catch 12 balls today. Like, no joke. He easily he could catch between 6 and 10 passes today. Easy squeezy. So yeah, fantasy owners would love that. So love Kenneth Gainwell. I like Darrell Williams today, against the New York Giants. As I talked about, his role, he seems to have stolen CEH's role to the point that he is going to be the guy every single week because he actually makes that running game look like it's worthy of being a running game. So, and in addition to that, he's going to catch some balls as well. So, Darrell Williams, Giants are banged up, not playing their best game. So, I'm looking for Williams to have a great day. And then I like Elijah Mitchell today against the Bears. No Khalil Mack in this game. Of course, that whole defensive front's going to be a little bit, out of flux, not having Mack there. There's no Matt Nagy, which could be seen as a benefit to some people. But I think the Bears' run defense has been soft lately, and I think Elijah Mitchell is going to run all over the Bears today. I hope I'm wrong as a Bear fan, but I like what I've seen out of Mitchell when he's healthy, and he looks to be healthy right now. So big time looking at a Mitchell to have a good day today. So all guys that you could throw in your lineup, especially with some buys, and feel good about it. But, we got some questions popping in the chat real quick that we'll grab before we hop into our wide receiver starts. Nate says, is this the week I can finally trust Fields to do something now that Nagy's gone, or do I stick with Tannehill? You still got to stick with Tannehill, Nate. Fields is not trustworthy in fantasy to this point, and especially not against the 49ers that have been playing better defense as of late. So while he could have a decent day, I don't think he's going to have a better day than Tannehill. I'd be shocked if he did. So I would stick with Tannehill. Adam, is there a point this season that you can see starting Justin Fields? I mean, I don't know if I could personally.
I don't see it at this point, though. I don't see it happening unless they were to make a coaching change. Otherwise, I think Fields is probably just eating up a roster spot on your bench, most likely. I really wish it was the other way around, but I really don't see it right now.
I would go as far as to say Justin Fields is a drop at this point.
I agree.
At this point, I'd rather use my bench for, wide receivers or like a tight end that I could use during the playoff runs. For depth. So personally, I'm dropping Fields, Nate, but I know you want to keep the faith, so I feel for you there. But if we had to say anything, I would say drop Fields and maybe grab another backup QB option for now. But It's a great question. I know a lot of people at tight end are talking about Dawson Knox being out and how it hurts. Like we said, there's a lot of options out there for you, Travis. The one I talked about earlier is the tight end for the Steelers, and Pat Freiermuth. Dude's got a ton of targets lately and is available in nearly every single league. He could definitely help you. And then also Travis points out, I dropped Fields. I'm with you there, buddy. That's a good call. Hopefully he proves us all wrong today. I just can't trust him at this point. And then we got a question here from Moogie. I'll let you field this one, Adam. Need help. Pick two, full PPR, Godwin, Higgins, Devontae Smith. And then do I start Gronk or Gesicki?
Well, no doubt we're playing Chris Godwin today.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk about him in a minute, especially in a full PPR. So he's definitely one of them. And then I think I would probably go Higgins, I think. Well, we've talked about the Bengals. I really like them today. I think it's really close between him and Smith, but I'd go Godwin, Higgins there. And as far as Gronk or Gesicki, both are pretty good plays today. I have that same situation on one of my teams, and I'm sticking with Mike Gesicki right now. He's just been he has been so good. I believe he's a top 3 tight end right now on the season, the way his last month has went for him. So I find it hard to take him out of your lineup right now. So I'd play Gesicki, especially Gronk still a little bit iffy coming off the broken ribs. He could take one hit and be out of the game.
Yeah, I have a hunch that you're not going to see a lot of Gronk today. And I don't think you're going to see 100% Gronk. I don't think they're in any point where they need to rush him back. So personally, I would start Gesicki. I like Gronk moving forward. I just think you got to give him another week or two, and he's going to be fine. But I would go with Gesicki for sure. No problem, Moogie. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for the question. And Travis says he has Noah Fant as his backup option with Thomas on IR. Yeah, smart.
That's good.
Thomas is a guy that Logan Thomas should be coming back in probably another 2-3 weeks. So that's another guy too. If he got dropped in your league, pick him up and I would stash him because Logan Thomas is active in that offense. I know Ricky Seals-Jones has been the guy lately, but don't forget Logan Thomas was a top 3 tight end basically last year in the last 6 weeks of the season. So keep that in the back of your mind. But Adam, let's get to our wide receiver starts. I will let you lead it off here, so go for it.
All right, Joe. I like Jerry Jeudy today coming back. He's been out since week 1, but he's been practicing for 2 or 3 weeks now. This was the last day they had to bring him back. I think was now they gave him as much time as possible to get back from what I believe was an ankle injury. And man, he looked great in week 1. I expect Teddy Bridgewater to really look for him a lot today versus a Washington defense that has not played anywhere near expectations this year. They've been quite awful, actually. I'd like Jerry Jeudy to get a lot of targets today and could have a really big game. And I think he's going to be a really good player from here on out. I also like Keenan Allen today. I know he's a big name that you're almost always starting in 99% of cases, but similar to Calvin Ridley, he's kind of let people down. I think he's had consistent games, but nothing really big yet. But I kind of think Belichick's going to try to take away the big plays today with Mike Williams, not allow them to throw all the way down the field and beat them all just so quickly. So I think Keenan Allen could really eat today on the underneath stuff and get a lot of catches. And the other one we just mentioned, Chris Godwin going against New Orleans. We know, like we said, Gronk's questionable coming in. Antonio Brown's still out. Chris Godwin is probably going to get the better matchup from the defense against the Saints, who have a great defense, but Marshawn Lattimore's going to be trailing Mike Evans all over the field, most likely. Those two have a historic matchup between the two of them every year. Lattimore usually gets the best of him, which is why I'd be skeptical about Mike Evans today. That's why I expect Godwin to have a really big game today. So Godwin is my number 1 start of the week as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Godwin's going to feast today, no doubt about it. I went with my wide receiver starts of the week. I tried to pick some guys that were out of obscurity a little bit. Emmanuel Sanders against Miami today. I mean, he has been the man with Josh Allen as his quarterback. Miami has been playing soft in their secondary, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing out of them. And let's face it, Emmanuel Sanders looks like a man on a mission to get that Super Bowl ring. Wait, did he win one with Ben Roethlisberger the first time? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, regardless, I like Emmanuel Sanders this week. He's on a mission. Another guy, Marvin Jones, going against Seattle. Trevor Lawrence loves this guy. I feel like the Jaguars are finally starting to get their offense rolling a little bit. I think Marvin Jones could easily score 2 touchdowns today. Seattle, their defense is not what it used to be. They're the legion of boom or bust, and it's been more bust lately. So I think Marvin Jones has a couple touchdowns today. And then we just talked about him a few minutes ago. Michael Pittman, for me, he's looked outstanding, especially with Carson Wentz being locked in on him. I think he's going to be very involved in this game against Tennessee today. Look for Michael Pittman to score a touchdown and get close to 100 yards. I mean, I like all 3 of these guys, and they're all guys that you could argue are technically on paper wide receiver 3s, but they have a wide receiver 1 ceiling today for sure. Pittman has been definitely rising in my ranks. I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2. Sanders as well, but all 3 of these guys I look for to have big days today. So I'm excited what we can get out of these guys. Before we get to tight ends, we do have a couple questions, Adam. Nate just dropped another question. So he said he finally dropped Fields, but he picked up Bridgewater. So would you go Tannehill or Bridgewater today? I know matchup-wise, it's not as clear-cut, but Denver, gets to go up here today against that Washington football team. Defense, which, as we just mentioned, has been all over the place. But even with that said, I think I'd probably still go Tannehill here. Adam, what do you think? I mean, Tennessee, of course, gets to go up against Indy today.
Yeah, it's actually really close for me on that because I think Bridgewater. Yeah, I think Bridgewater is a really safe option today in what is a pretty good matchup versus Washington. But I think I would still play Tannehill as well. I think Tennessee's just been on an upswing and looking really good the last few weeks. I know I did say I think the Colts may beat them today, but I think that would be in a really good game. They're not going to shut Tannehill and the Titans down today. I just think Wentz can keep up with them. So I think I would stick with Tannehill. They've looked really good the last couple of weeks.
I agree. I know it's close. It's probably closer than any of us really think, but I think you got to go with Tannehill for sure. And we got one more from Moogie. Pick 3, full PPR, Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, Austin Eckler, Darrell Williams. Start Tannehill or Prescott? Thank you. Well, Prescott's not a given, and that's you got to go with the guy that you know is playing. So I would say Tannehill, just because Dak Prescott looks like he's trending to being out, in my opinion. I know Adam and I both feel the same about that. Yeah. But this is an interesting one, Adam, out of these running backs, because they're all excellent options today. Personally, I think you got to include Eckler because he said he's playing. He said he's starting himself in fantasy. He's been heavily involved. But out of the other 3 guys, who are you looking at, Adam?
This one's actually pretty easy for me. If I'm picking 3 out of those 4, Darrell Williams is going to the bench. There's no way I'm putting Jonathan Taylor on my bench or Austin Eckler. And James Robinson has been awesome, man. I mean, he has like 100% of the snaps the last week or two before the Jaguars bye week happened, and he's looked great. As you mentioned a minute ago, the Jaguars have been looking quite a bit better. Trevor Lawrence seems to be getting more comfortable. I'm sitting Darrell Williams out of this just based on how much the Chiefs like to throw the ball.
Yeah, and then let's be honest, the other 3 guys are workhorse backs, all 3 of them. And, Williams, like you said, isn't going to get that volume today. So I agree with you there. So you're going to bench Williams, and then you're going to start Tannehill because as much as we love Dak and the matchup he has today, he does not appear to be ready to go. And that's kind of scary. If you're a Dak owner, make sure you have some good options. But if you have Tannehill as a backup, that's fantastic. It's a great position to be in, Moogie. So great work.
Yeah, that whole scenario is a great position to be in. I mean, those running backs are terrific.
Yeah, great drafting for sure. But now we're going to get to our tight end starts of the week. And, I know as much as we talk about it, we thought every year we feel like tight end is going to be deeper and deeper. And it just always appears to not be. So it's a bit of a wasteland. So Adam and I have very similar picks today. But my tight end start of the week, I love Pat Freiermuth today against the Browns. And a lot of people are asking me, who the hell is Pat Freiermuth? And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think that's right. He is a tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers who's kind of gone under the wire and has received a very high amount of targets. I think last week he had 7 targets with that wide receiver core banged up. And what else could you ask for when you're, looking at a tight end and you need to fill a spot? I'm pulling up Pat's numbers real quick so I can look exactly at the amount of targets he had. Yeah, I was right. It's 7 targets last week. And not only did he have 7 targets, Adam, he caught all 7.
Yeah, I think since Juju has been out, Freiermuth's numbers or targets have been going up every week, I believe. And I love this pick.
So, yeah, I mean, he's available in majority of leagues. Definitely pick him up. I love the matchup against Cleveland. Cleveland's banged up as a whole, and he's a safety blanket. And let's be honest, Big Ben looks like a shell of himself. I would be shocked if he if he even finishes the year, let alone comes back next season. So love Freiermuth today. Dallas Goedert. I mean, Jalen Hurts loves him. Detroit, arguably the worst team in the league against the tight end. Statistically, they're very close. So I look for Goddard to have at least 6 catches today and his touchdown. And then, of course, the red-hot Hunter Henry continues to be involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots, and he's going up against his old team. It's a revenge game for Hunter Henry. So I'm sure he's got a lot in the tank. He's going to want to score a touchdown. He's going to be pedal to the metal, Hunter Henry. And when you see Hunter Henry get pissed off, that dude, you do not want to mess with him. So I love Hunter Henry today at tight end. And I feel like you're going to see Adam's tight end starts, and you might see a couple doubles, but it tells you that they're good plays this week, right, Adam?
Absolutely. I love those picks. As you see, I also have a lot of faith in Dallas Goedert and Hunter Henry today. Hunter Henry's now at 4 weeks in a row with touchdown. Mac Jones looks for him every time they're in the red zone, and it's just an extremely consistent thing. I think you can count on and play basically every week. So Hunter Henry's going to be in my lineup if I have him every week right now, unless you have one of those big 3 tight ends or so. But Hunter Henry's fantastic play once again, as well as Dallas Goedert coming back. He's back now. Ertz is out of the picture. Goddard's finally the guy at tight end for Philadelphia, and I think they're going to score a lot of points today versus Detroit. I like that game for fantasy players all around. So Goddard, I think, is a great play. And my other one's going to be TJ Hawkinson, who is a big name coming into the season, looked awesome the first week or two, then has had a lot of really dud games since then.
He got me chopped in guillotine.
Yeah, lots of like less than 5-point games. But last week it looked like they were trying to get him back in the mix more, and I think they're going to have to today if they want to keep up with Philadelphia in this game. So I look for Hawkinson to eat up a lot of targets and get in the end zone today in this game and start turning the corner for fantasy managers.
I agree. I sure hope so, man. I could use him in a few leagues. But I love him. I love him this week, especially with Darren Waller on a bye, and same thing with Mark Andrews, 2 big names in the tight end hemisphere. We'll be taking a quick commercial break in just a minute, but we do have a couple questions here from Matt. What's up? Well, Matt, appreciate you joining us, man. Beasley or Kadarius Toney today? I mean, Beasley is probably the more consistent option. I know he's kind of been across the board, kind of a roller coaster this year, but I feel like he's kind of calmed down as of recently and has been more involved. And as I talked about earlier, I think that Miami secondary is really soft. They have a lot of open space in the middle of the field. I think that's where Beasley's going to be. So I'm going Beasley here, but Adam, what do you think?
I would agree, Joe. I would go Cole Beasley on this one. I really like Kadarius Toney, but he's coming off the injury and still a little bit questionable today. And we saw the last game he played. He came in, looked amazing right out of the gate, but then was out of the game in the first quarter. So I'm going to hold off on putting him in my lineups till we see him last full game healthy right now.
I am fully aligned. Matt also has a quarterback question. Adam, I'll let you field this one. Tannehill, Danny Dimes, or Teddy Bridgewater?
Man, that's a tough one there. We said I'd take Tannehill over Teddy, and then I think I would still take Tannehill over Danny Dimes as well. Danny Dimes has a lot of upside, I know, with his legs and stuff, and in that game versus Kansas City, but Tannehill's the safer option. Danny Dimes can turn it over 5 times in a heartbeat, so I'm going to stick with Tannehill out of these 3.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's close for me between Tannehill and Danny Dimes, but I tend to agree with you about Danny Dimes because I think this could easily be the game where the Kansas City Chiefs fully turn everything around and they turn into this could be like the Buccaneers lost to the Bears last year.
Right.
Like they turn things around against the New York Giants and they don't lose again. So, I mean, I think Tannehill is the safer option here. I mean, if you want to go for the home run and you're like a heavy underdog in your matchup because of buys or whatever, then maybe toss in Danny Dimes. But otherwise, if you want to be safe for the points, I would go with Tannehill for sure. And then he says he's starting Khalil Herbert at flex. Let's see another big game out of him. I mean, I would love to see a big game out of Khalil Herbert today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the 49ers have been a little all over the place with their run defense, but, you know, hopefully it works out for you, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's a fair amount of work, so it's a decent flex play.
I could see a touchdown. I could see him score today for sure. Well, with that said, we're going to be coming up here after our quick commercial break with our sits of the week and our sleepers of the week. But until then, here is a brief commercial break from our barroom sponsors. And of course, don't forget to help support us by buying some Fantasy Football Goon swag on the Barroom Network swag shop or any of the other amazing shows on our network. So we will be right back after this quick commercial break.
The Barroom Network presents two fired up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
And we are back after that quick commercial break. And we're going to get to our sits and our sleepers of the week. So let's dive into that, Adam. We'll go first with your sits of the week.
All right, Joe. The first one I've got there is Jameis Winston this week versus Tampa Bay. We've seen the Saints offense be up and down all season. Looked really good last week when Jameis finally seemed to acknowledge, like, hey, I have the best pass catching running back in the league right here behind me, and finally started throwing to him. And you saw how easy it was for him. I mean, it was just like, you know, there it is, just take it all day long. And that's what the Saints do best. But, you know, Tampa Bay's defense today is not going to allow that right away. It's going to be a lot tougher for them. Jameis can turn it over a lot. So I'm pretty skeptical about the passing game for the Saints. Hopefully Alvin Kamara can get it going on the ground, and maybe a little bit of the new Mark Ingram gets involved and gives Kamara a little bit of a break so he can survive. But I'm not playing Jameis today versus Tampa Bay. He's a sit for me, in case you were trying to do that in a bye week situation or something for Lamar. The other one's going to be OBJ versus Pittsburgh. We saw last week, I said I wouldn't have him in my lineup. I would do the same today. I think he's more hurt than he's letting on to believe. He's going against a good defense. And, I mean, him and Baker just don't have that relationship. It seems like it still just has not worked out for them. I'm skeptical.
And they're both hurt.
Yeah, they're both hurt. I'm skeptical about OBJ falling down again on his shoulder and being out of the game just like we saw last week. So there's just no way I'm comfortable playing him. Mike Davis versus Carolina today. Man, he really let everybody down last week. That was
killed me. 1 point.
One of the stinkers of the year for sure. what did he get? Like 4 carries or something in the game? Like it
4
was
carries
insane.
for like a yard or 3
Or
yards.
10
I don't
yards
know.
or something. Yeah. So I'm just not taking my chances with that versus Carolina defense. It's been pretty good all season. Yeah, Mike Davis is going to have to earn his spot back in the lineup at this point. And the other one we just mentioned, I'm not saying I would bench Mike Evans, but if you're one of those teams that has 4 good wide receivers, you might want to consider someone else in that matchup versus Marshawn Lattimore. In like 9 career games versus Lattimore, Evans has like 1 good game, and that was in like 2018. So, you know, I'm not saying you bench Mike Evans because he's a stud. He could get that 2 touchdowns and 5 yards type of game. You never know. But I would definitely lower expectations with Mike Evans today.
I'm fully aligned there, man. All great options to ride the pine this week. I'm going similar route to you. We talked about the Browns. I'm benching Dearness Johnson if you have him. I know Chubb is back. He's going to take some carries away. Johnson will probably be the change of pace guy. But like I said, Pittsburgh is so good against the run. I think they're going to have to pass if they're going to want to win this game. And Johnson, as good as he looked last week, I just think he's going to struggle today against that Pittsburgh front. So I'd bench him if you could. Mac Jones, personally, I'm benching against that Chargers secondary. I know they continue to get burned in weeks that I think they're going to do well. But I do think that Chargers defense is going to turn things around. And plus, let's be honest, Mac Jones at most this year, I think, is thrown for like 275. And he's doesn't really do all that much. He kind of lets his running game take things over. And I think that's going to be another case today. So I would bench Mac Jones if you could. If you were playing him on a bye week, there's a bunch of other guys you could pick up, maybe a Teddy Bridgewater instead. I'd rather start him. Tyler Boyd as well. I'm going to bench today against the Jets. I'm going to tell you why. When T. Higgins came back, Tyler Boyd kind of took a back seat and kind of disappeared. So personally, until I see it out of Tyler Boyd again, I'm benching him. Even though the matchup is great, I don't know what's going on. Jamar Chase, of course, is the big dog over there. Then T. Higgins, then Tyler Boyd. And even C.J. Azoma has been taking away catches from Tyler Boyd. So I'm personally benching Boyd for now. And I'm also going to bench Rob Gronkowski for the same reason. He's coming back off of that injury in his ribs. You're not going to see 100% Gronk today. Plus, you've got Brait and Howard who are able to go in and fill more of the pass-catching role. I think if you see Gronk in this game, I think it's going to be more of a pass block or protection kind of role. And let's be honest, he could easily aggravate that rib. So I'm not expecting much out of Gronk today. So he's going to ride my bench. Those are my sits of the week, Adam.
I like them, except for one of them, and you'll see why in a minute.
I know. And speaking of, let's get to Adam's sleepers of the week.
Well, one of my sleepers is one of your sits there with Dearness Johnson. I really liked Ernest Johnson again this week, mostly because I think he's going to, with Chubb coming back, I think Johnson's going to play that hunt role today, and he may get a lot of the dump-offs and the passing game work today. Chubb may kind of be the first and somewhat second down guy, but Johnson, I think, still going to get a lot of touches, even in a tough matchup, I know, versus Pittsburgh. But that's why I think maybe the passing game may be the key to Ernest Johnson having another good game today. So I'm willing to play him.
Point.
Yeah, I'm willing to play him if you need him. Another guy I like is the rookie running back Michael Carter for the New York Jets. We've talked about this game versus Cincinnati where we expect Cincinnati to win, but Michael Carter also is quite effective in the passing game as well, and he's really the only healthy running back they have right now. Tevin Coleman's out. Ty Johnson, I believe, has been in and out and up and down. They don't really use him that much anyway. Michael Carter's touches continue to go up, and I think he'll catch at least 5 passes in this game and be very usable if you need him. Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos, another rookie running back that we love, has looked really good last week and just continues to look better every week, in my opinion. He looks really good in the passing game. Melvin Gordon hasn't looked bad, but you just see a little bit more burst when Javonte Williams comes in the game. And I think it's just a matter of time before he completely takes over that job. I think he's a strong running back the second half of the fantasy season. Another one we me and you talked about earlier is this guy Khalif Raymond for Detroit Lions, wide receiver. I like him to get the bulk of the targets versus Philadelphia today in this game as far as the wide receivers go for Detroit. He's looked really good the last couple games with 6 or 7 targets. I think he's caught 5 or 6 balls in both of those games. He had over 100 yards last week. Goff seems to trust him and look for him. And I think if you have to play a Lions wide receiver, I think he's the guy to play.
I'm with you. I had a little typo. I just fixed it there. But I do agree that Goff is going to look his way a lot today. And I think they're going to be pissed off that Detroit Lions team. They need a win bad.
Really do.
They've stayed in games. That's the thing that's kind of frustrating about that Lions team. And, I love what their coach is doing with the team, but they're just not able to squeak out those wins. If they could stick with Philly's the team that gives up the lead fourth quarter, and they give up that lead in the second half. So this could be a Detroit Lions winner today. I think that might be a shootout down there. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
I agree.
And then Kicks for Mike says Swift and Cook over 50 today, guys. Well, I mean, that could easily be the point. I do see that being open, a legit possibility. Both those guys poised for big days today.
Especially with Jamal Williams being out, and Swift even more work probably.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught that earlier, Kicks for Mike, but there is no Jamal Williams, so it's all Swift all the time today for the Lions. Going to be a fun game. Look for Swift to be a top 5 running back today. I would be surprised if he's not. But let's dive into my sleepers of the week. We talked about Samaje Perine today against the Jets. I think the Bengals are going to go up big time, and you're going to see a lot of Perine garbage time, kind of running out that clock. For that reason, I could see him getting close to 100 yards in this game and maybe having at least one score. For a guy that most people don't even have on their radar, that could be a great start for you this week, especially in a flex spot. Love Perine as a flex play. I also love Tyler Conklin today against the Dallas Cowboys at tight end. Now, this is a guy that, going up against the defense that is worse in the league against the tight end. And let's be honest, Conklin is getting more and more involved. Kirk Cousins loves the guy. I expect Conklin to have at least a touchdown today, maybe 6 catches for 80 yards and a score. What more can you ask for a fill-in tight end? Love it from Tyler Conklin. I have him starting in like 2 or 3 leagues today. Looking for big things out of him today. And I know you have him as a sit, but I think as a sleeper play, if you're desperate, I don't mind Jameis Winston against the Bucs. Reason being, it's a bit of a revenge game for him going against his old squad. He's going to be pretty fired up about that. And then secondly, the Tampa Bay secondary has not been great. What Winston has to worry about is the pass rush. So if Winston can get the ball out of his hand quick today, I think he could be a decent sleeper play. I'd still keep your expectations in check, but I think you could expect between 25 to 30 points out of him. I'd say probably closer to 25, but for a sleeper fill-in play, not too bad for a bye week replacement. And last but not least, I'm taking another Minnesota Viking. I'm taking KJ Osborne against the Dallas Cowboys today. This is a guy that opened the season with huge games and kind of fell off the face of the earth. I think he has another huge game today. Dallas secondary, as you mentioned, horrible. And Kirk Cousins likes to find Osborne when he gets open over the middle of the field. KJ Osborne's a guy I'd like as a wide receiver 3 today with an upside to be a wide receiver 2. And then what more can you ask for out of a sleeper play that you're kind of plugging in there on a whim? So I like all these guys to have a big day today, Adam.
Yeah, I agree with those, especially the Vikings picks there, Tyler Conklin and KJ Osborne. Conklin would have been, when you mentioned Freiermuth earlier, Conklin would have been the next guy I mentioned as good fill in this week for Andrews or Waller or something. Cousins does look at him in the red zone a lot. He can easily get a little 5-yard touchdown pass. And we talked about Perine as well. So I like these picks outside of Jameis Winston. I think he's going to struggle.
We'll see. I mean, either way, there's not a lot of great quarterback sleeper picks for this week, so I had to go somewhere for one.
Yep, I hear you.
But I'm going to quickly do a quick run through of all the inactives for the early games that are out. I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but there is a little bit of breaking news for fantasy owners. Calvin Ridley is inactive today for a personal matter. for the second time this year. So obviously something going on with Calvin Ridley, but that boosts the stock of like a Russell Gage today. I like him today. Kyle Pitts, who's been kind of trending upward anyway. Look for this to be a Kyle Pitts game.
Yes.
Shocking news. But let's go to the morning games. For the Tennessee Titans, no one really – I lied. We do have Julio Jones inactive today for the Tennessee Titans. So, obviously, you're not going to play him. Poor Julio seems to be banged up every single year. For the Colts, there's not really anyone of fantasy warrant to mention. Going into the Rams at Texans game, Deshaun Jackson inactive. Apparently, he has requested a trade. I feel like he's requested a trade from more teams than I can even imagine. I don't know if there's
can the NFL request a retirement?
Well, I think that's coming up next. I don't know how many teams are going to want to take a chance on him, but who knows? Maybe there's a magic team out there that'll finally work for Deshaun Jackson.
He is still fast. I mean, he's kind of like
he is fast.
Like Emmanuel Sanders. They do still have their speed,
Yeah, no, for sure. Same thing with Houston. It's pretty much just defensively. A lot of their defense is banged up and out of this game. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson inactive. But a lot of rumors swirling around, Adam, that he could be traded before the trade deadline on Tuesday. Lots of package deals being, now the Panthers have emerged in talks, and then it's the Eagles, then it's the Dolphins. I don't know who it is and if he would even play this year. But personally, I'm not going to waste a roster spot on him just yet. I've seen him be added in a few leagues, but what do you think about that?
I'm not adding him. Sure, there's a chance if he were to go to Philadelphia or Miami that he could. They say he's not going to be put on the commissioner's exempt list or anything, and he technically could play right away. But I mean, how well shape is he in? He has to learn the system. I mean, by the time I think he would actually be on the field, you've wasted that roster spot for so long. And what's happening in the meantime? Are you still able to keep winning? I'm just not touching it for right now. I honestly think he's going to end up staying there in Houston for the rest of the year, and then something will happen in the off season.
Yeah, I agree. Curious to see what happens, though. Then getting into the Bengals at Jets. No one of note on the Bengals inactive, but the Jets have Corey Davis inactive yet again. And then, of course, newly acquired Joe Flacco is inactive as well. No surprise there. Dolphins at Bills today. Buffalo, of course, we talked about it. Dawson Knox still out with that broken hand. And, aside from that, backup running back Matt Breida and a bunch of defensive players on both Miami and Buffalo's sidelines. So nothing crazy there. For Pittsburgh at the Cleveland, Eric Ebron inactive today for them. And then for the Cleveland Browns, of course, there's no Kareem Hunt today, as he's been banged up, as well as Donovan Peoples-Jones. We're almost through the morning games. I feel like there's a million of them, but there's no one really of note out in the Detroit Eagles game except for Jamal Williams, like we talked about. So, and then backup tight end Darren Fells. Into the Bears game this afternoon at noon against the 49ers. Of course, we know that there's no David Montgomery, who's on IR. Khalil Mack, notably out of this game, changes things up a bit for the 49ers. And then, of course, no one else of note from the 49ers. And last but not least, to wrap up the morning games, Carolina at Atlanta, we talked about it. Calvin Ridley, a surprise inactive today for the Falcons. And no one else on the Carolina side of note, but fantasy owners scrambling this morning. It feels like a bye week all of a sudden, Adam.
Yeah, that Ridley thing was a big for a lot of people. I'm sure hopefully you have a good wide receiver to fill in, or, maybe they were in your flex, then you got to fill your flex. So that's a really big one, especially considering we mentioned how he's been somewhat disappointing thus far, even though he's getting 10 targets a game. But, now this second game, plus, 3 weeks now you've not had him with 2 of these and a bye week in there already through this is just week 8. So, that's really killer for a lot of fantasy managers. So, yeah, hopefully you have good options on your bench to replace him. Yeah, we went from 2 bye weeks to, like you just said, it all of a sudden it's like, oh man, now we got to figure this out and figure that out. So here we go again, Joe. That's the fun of fantasy football.
It is. Ridley owners have the wonder of dealing with that this year. It's been a whirlwind. But all kidding aside, hopefully everything's okay with Calvin Ridley. I guess we'll find out sooner than later, I would imagine. But we went through all the inactives for the morning games. This afternoon, the Bucs have Antonio Brown inactive. No surprise there, as he's been on a crutch all week. So that's never a good sign. Taysom Hill inactive.
I did hear they say they expect Antonio Brown to come back after the bye week, next bye week.
Well, that's good. I guess if you're going to be on a crutch, you might as well be on it before the bye week and not after. Like Dak, who's been banged up nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've not released, of course, those inactives yet, but I would be shocked to see Dak Prescott suit up tonight. We'll know in about I don't know, 6 hours.
Yeah, that's saying if you're waiting on Dak, I hope you have somebody at least in an afternoon game that you can be prepared to play, because I would not try to wait it out on Dak Prescott.
No, don't wait it out. Not worth it. But, Adam, we've worked our way through our starts, our sits, our sleepers, our inactives, and we've kind of come up to the 11:20 part of the show where we start to wrap things up. If you have any last-minute questions here in the chat, don't hesitate to let them rip. But we're going to be wrapping up here in about 5 minutes. But, Adam, what are your thoughts heading into this week of fantasy? I mean, I know you've been rebuilding a roster of a squad that you inherited and totally rebuilt it from top to bottom to be a playoff contender. What are the tips that you can give our listeners and viewers for how that they can turn their team around at this halfway point of the season?
Well, I think, you got to recognize the position you're in, first of all. When I took that team over, I realized I'm at the bottom. I'm not in a position of power whatsoever. So I've got to kind of make the deals I can make and not try to hold out for this or hold out for that. Like, I can get more if I wait for this guy. No, you got to make moves on the waiver wire like this. If you can make a slight improvement from one player to another with someone, you need to do it and take it right then. And you can just build the roster up one spot at a time, basically, and then once you get to that point, then you kind of got to slow down, let it play a little bit and see how it goes. And then decide do I need to keep making moves, or, hey, have I got to a point where this is a pretty safe team? The team you're speaking of, they were, absolutely awful, dead last, didn't have a chance at winning a game. And we've managed to win 3 out of the last 5 and actually had the highest score last week, or projected for the 3rd or 4th highest score this week. And, we've done it through a lot of trading and a lot of waiver wire pickups. Try to jump on those waiver wires and then flip them in trades if you need to, if you're on the bottom of the league. That's how it works. You got to do it one step at a time, but you have to be the one playing the waiver wire all the time.
You certainly do. And it's the way to do it. I'm in a couple of leagues that I'm in, just trying to switch things up a little bit and get some refreshing changes on my teams. And I think you kind of have to view yourself in that respect right now, especially at this halfway point. But I know we're at the point, Adam, where we're – what's that? Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're in that spot where you're playing from the bottom, don't give up a good player just because you feel you need to make a move. Only do it if it actually is going to improve your squad, because you can easily hurt yourself just as quick as you can help yourself there. So don't make a move just to make a move because you feel like, well, I'm in last, I've got to do something. Make sure it benefits you.
That's right. And as we like to ask our fantasy viewers, any questions, like our buddy David Pumpkins? And it's the part of the show where we like to remind everybody, happy Halloween. Have a safe and happy Halloween, especially from our buddy David Pumpkins here on the screen. And the Fantasy Football Goon crew. Have a lot of fun with everybody. Have fun with your kids. Pass out candy. Eat some candy and have a good time. And as we have David Pumpkins on the screen, we did get a question today from Jamal at the bottom. We might as well field it before we wrap while we watch David Pumpkins. Is kicker Nick Folk available today? Dallas and Minnesota kickers are available if he isn't. Last I heard, he was questionable last week as well, and he still played.
I think he's been questionable every week for a month that I'm aware of. I have him on a couple of teams. He continues to play through it. He's actually played great. I think he's the number one kicker in fantasy, actually. He's only missed one kick on the year. His injury is like a nagging knee injury on his non-kicking leg. So I expect he's going to play. But if you do want to switch up, Dallas, Greg Zuerlein's a great kicker, and they already got the bye week behind him. You could stick him in and leave him there pretty much the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's true. I would probably add Zuerlein personally and drop Folk. Folk is expected to play. I just looked it up. There's a report that came out that he's probably going to play today, but I like Zuerlein the rest of the season because, let's be honest, they score a lot of points.
Yep.
And I can't help but laugh as I stare at David Pumpkins while this happens. So, David, we're going to bid you farewell. But and same thing with the rest of our listeners. We have hit the end of the show. Glad to help, Jamal. Thanks for tuning in and catching the tail end of the show before we get out of here. But before we get out of here, Adam, any last-minute shout-outs or Halloween wishes that you want to extend to anybody?
Just shout out to all the listeners and the viewers there that watched and asked questions. We appreciate it always. As you always mentioned, hit us up on Twitter. We're happy to answer questions anytime during the week, and especially on Sundays here. I hope everybody has a safe, happy Halloween. And let's go kick off this second half of fantasy with the win today.
That's right. It's what it's all about. Start that second half strong. We appreciate everyone for tuning in all year long. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Catherine, my dog, Maverick, and our baby daughter on the way, due in January. Can't wait to meet you. And last but not least, to everyone who's ever tuned into the show or asked advice for us in any format, of course, you can hit us up on Twitter at FFB Goon. You can also tag Adam and myself at Joe Mandel, at Papa Bear 816. And we're going to answer your questions as much as we can. So again, thank you. And of course, thank you to you, Adam. Appreciate it as always. Love talking fantasy with you every Sunday.
Same to you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Always a lot of fun. And, everyone, enjoy your Halloween. Enjoy a Sunday full of football. For Fantasy Football Goon, I'm Joe Mandel the Goon. That's Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. We thank you for joining us this weekend, or this happy Sunday, this Halloween spooky Sunday. And God bless football. God bless America. And let's go kick some ass. We'll see you guys next week. Win those fantasy matchups.
Good luck.